So first, I would like to thank Dr. Talwar for giving me this opportunity. So I'll be talking about how to read a normal retinal OCT, what do we see and how to read them. So as we all know, the OCT is a tomogram of black and white, and it's only colored with false colors. And it is possible because of the varied reflections from the different retinal layers. Now, whenever we see a OCT image, we do two types of analysis, a qualitative and a quantitative. Qualitative analysis means we assess all the layers, their structure, any changes from the normal, and we also see the reflectivity studies, any kind of hypo or hyper reflectivity, which is very important. For the quantitative analysis, we see the overall thickness and volume of the retinal layers, and that tells us what is the status of the various layers. Now, these are the different scans that are usually done. A line scan appears like this across and on single, but they have good resolution. But the disadvantage is that the area seen is very limited. So the preferred scans are a raster or a radial. The raster has parallel horizontal scans of high resolution, while the radial scans are lines passing through the fovea at regular equal angles. So the advantages with both of them is that they are able to pick up even very small lesions which may be missed otherwise. So there are just a few examples where you can see the radial and the raster. Now coming to the normal retinal OCT, we see the fovea as a depression, and the anterior and the posterior most boundaries are very well defined because of high reflectivity from the vitreoretinal interface as well as the RPE. These are the various layers of the retina, and this is a histopathological correlation. Now coming to the color interpretation, the layers which reflect very strongly, they appear as red or orange, and these include the ILM layer, the nerve fiber layer, as well as the RPE layer, while the layers with medium reflectivity are greenish, and these include the two plexiform layers as well as the inner and outer segment of photoreceptors. While the layers with the weak reflectivity, they appear black or blue, black being the vitreous and blue are the nuclear layers. Now, whenever we see an OCT image, we first of all look at the quality, then the position of the scan, as well as then we assess the different layers. In the quality, we have to look whether we are seeing the outer and the inner band clearly, and the good signal to noise ratio, as well as any abnormal profiles. Now here you can see in the first, some parts are not clearly seen, but this is because of the shadowing effect of the membrane in front. While here you see there's overall it's not a good signal noise ratio, and this is because of any media opacity like cataract. Here you see some abnormalities. Sometimes they're not due to actual problem, but because of some artifacts. So here there's a gap here, and here there's some movement. The gap is due to eye blinking, while this undulated waves is seen because of the eye movement. So how can we differentiate? By correlating with the fundus picture as well as repeating the scan. Then comes the position. Are we really seeing through the fovea? Because otherwise we get a false impression. So if the patient is not able to fix on the central fixation, we can always use the fixation in the other eye. Now coming to the actual assessment of the layers, we divide it into these regions. So there's a pre-retinal, epiretinal, intraretinal, and the subretinal or the sub-RP. These are the terms which we use to describe the changes like thickening, thinning, elevation, depression. The pre-retinal region is black because vitreous is translucent, but sometimes we may see hyperreflective areas like this. There's a membrane here, which we're seeing, and a PVD membrane here. The second picture shows a diffuse hyperreflectivity in the vitreous, indicating some kind of vitreous hemorrhage. The epiretinal area is usually very smooth, regular, and highly reflective, but it may become irregular because of presence of some abnormality, like in this case, an epiretinal membrane. These are some other changes which we can see in the epiretinal region, adhesion of a membrane or a traction leading to vitreomacular traction. Here, the traction is lifting up the whole retina. And sometimes we even see altered foveal contour because of the presence of, like in this case, this was an NBE which was present at the foveal margin. Now coming to the next layer, that is the intraretinal changes. Here reflectivity patterns are very important, hypo and hyper. And then we look at the thickening, thinning, and the integrity of the layers. Now whenever we see hyporeflectivity, this usually indicates fluid or edema. Now we have to look at the pattern of this hyperreflectivity. If it is diffuse, we call it a diffuse macular edema. And if it is cystic spaces, then it's a cystic macular edema. But all hyperreflective areas are not edema. So sometimes retinal atrophy, the cells of the retina, and they may atrophy and lead to this kind of a picture. Hyperreflectivity, you can see here the hyperreflective lesions in the outer retinal layers. This is due to new vascular membrane in the AMD cases. Very highly reflective intraretinal lesions may be seen in some cases because of hard exudates, and they even cause shadowing. Then we look at the thickening, overall thickness of the retina. Here you can see there's increase in thickness because of the edema. And in the second one, there is a thinning because of the overall atrophy of the retinal layers. Present or not? Here you can see there's a complete loss of retinal layers in the center leading to a macular hole. And sometimes you may see a partial loss of retinal layers. So this is a lamellar macular hole. Then comes finally the subretinal or the sub-RPE region. Here, the reflectivity patterns, again, we see, and the RPE layer. Here, hyporeflectivity indicating the fluid is important in relation to the RPE layer. If the fluid is above the RPE, then it is a subretinal fluid. And if the fluid is below the RPE, then it becomes a PED, a pigment epithelial detachment. The RPE layer is very important. So these are again the terms which we use to describe it. These are the various changes you can see: undulation, disruption, thickening. It's very important because many times it's the RPE layer which gives us a clue to the possible diagnosis. Now I'll just illustrate. You see a case here where there's subretinal fluid, there's intraretinal cystic fluid, similar case with intraretinal cystic edema. But are these two the same? No, not really, because if you look at the RPE here, in the second one, it is elevated and irregular, indicating that these two are entirely different conditions. Similar, just another illustration. This case, you see there is subretinal fluid, and another case with similar subretinal fluid. But if you look at the RPE layer, it is normal in this, and here it's undulated, and there is a PED also, indicating that this is a case of AMD, while the first is just a case of CSR. So this is the importance of RPE layer. Then coming to the final quantitative analysis, which we do with the 3D scan. Here we see the overall thickness and volume of the retina. This is important because this helps us in mapping the progression of the disease as well as seeing the effect of the therapeutic intervention. Finally, I would just like to say that we should be very familiar with the retinal anatomy as well as the OCT features of the different diseases. And we should always have a systematic approach to evaluating all the OCT images. And main important thing is to correlate it with the fundus picture, the history, as well as the sign and the symptoms. Thank you.